Guys, welcome back. This week we are looking at a little bit of a shorter book. We're going to dip our toes into some children's literature with a book that probably everybody has already heard of. It's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. Before I get into this, I just have to say that I love these little hard copy, hardback print editions that bookstores do. This one, if you're watching this in the States, I got this from Chapters or Indigo, which is our version of Barnes & Noble. And when I was talking to the person who recommended this book to me, he mentioned that Barnes & Noble's does the same thing, essentially. So I really like it. I just like these tiny little hardcovers because they're nicely put together. I own two other books that are like this. One is A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and the other one being Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. They're super nice, compact, very convenient. Just a nice little book format that I like to pick up. So this was recommended to me as kind of a little bit of writing research for something that I'm working on, but also because it is a foundational work of fiction for one of my best friends. He said that this was the book that really opened up his eyes to a sense of wonder, a sense of the fantastic in fiction, what a story could do, and what C.S. Lewis is able to accomplish in such a short book is pretty amazing. It's only 100 pages, and it's a very easy read, but it's also a very, very, I don't want to say lovely read because I feel like that might take away from a little bit of what the book does. It's a children's book, so you're going to have a light, whimsical, almost fairy tale kind of setting, but also there's a lot of beautiful language in this, and there's a lot of writing that doesn't insult the reader's intelligence and allows the reader to use their imagination to fill in the gaps. And I really, really enjoy that. I think children's literature shouldn't talk down to children if it can help it. And I think that it should do a lot to enrich the mind and the imaginative experience. So being able to put something in the hands of the reader for them to kind of take that and run with it and see where their mind goes with how they envision the scene. One of the reasons why I mention that is because there's a lot of scenes in this book where you could easily flesh this book out to 2, 3, maybe even 4 times the length. There's an entire battle that happens in this, and in that, almost nothing is explained about the battle itself. Now, if this was an epic fantasy, you would have, details of the ranks, of the generals, of the players in the battle, of the landscape, of all these little things that are coming together to work into the vast complexity that makes up a battle. And in this, it's kind of just stated that it's happening, but it's not simply stated that it's happening. It gives you hints at little interactions within these battles that allow you to fill in the gaps. Another thing when it comes to the details that are put in this book, it's not so much about describing everything in detail. It's about choosing the details to highlight and then allowing you to almost fill in the rest. And by putting that little, lens on a specific aspect of the story, you really get a sense for maybe more of the theme of the story, more of the moral of the story, and really the intention of the author in terms of where they want to direct the attention for the reader, whether that reader be a child or an adult. C.S. Lewis has a really good saying. It has something, I'm going to butcher this. I'm going to try not to butcher this. It's something like, when I grew up, I put away childish things, including the fear of liking childish things. So basically saying that fairy tales are not just for kids, they're for adults as well, provided they're written this well. Right? This is not the first C.S. Lewis book that I've read. I've read The Screwtape Letters, which is a polemic between two demons. One is an uncle that is trying to counsel his nephew on how to possess a human, and it is an excellent book. This takes a little bit of a different tack, although very strong Christian imagery. And even if I didn't mention that, when you read it, it very clearly comes up. And now apparently the author denies doing that intentionally. It doesn't really matter what the author intended. It's very, very, very clearly there. And speaking of fairy tales, there was another book that's also very whimsical that I read, and this probably closest to this kind of genre, although a tiny bit longer, and that being The Last Unicorn. I got a very similar vibe between the two of the books. And to be honest with you, either of those books I think would be ideal for very young readers. If young readers are kind of bridging that gap into chapter books, into longer length works, something like this is excellent. Again, it's only 100 pages. Now, what happens in the book? Basically, we follow 4 kids. They are living in a house during World War II, I think. Some professor's house that is very vast, right? You don't need to know the details of the house. All that you know from the kid's perspective is it's so vast, it's impossible to keep up with how many rooms and hallways they might be in this house. And then during their exploration, they stumble into a wardrobe where once they hide in that wardrobe and they dig through the clothes a little bit, they pop out on the other side into Narnia. Narnia is taken over by some frost ice queen of some sort, and then it's basically the task of the children to restore the kingdom to its former glory. We get insights into each of the 4 kids because each of them bring their own level to the conflict and to the story, and then we get wrapped up in this lovely, magnificent, whimsical kind of fairy tale situation that both seems to juggle a light tone while also having consequences deep enough for you to really stay invested into the characters. Now, I mentioned a little bit of that attentional spotlight where the author is kind of getting you to focus a lot of your attention. I mentioned the battle scene. There's going to be a spoiler here, but again, Chronicles of Narnia have been out for a long time. When that battle happens at the end, the author doesn't put the spotlight on the battle. What the author does is he puts the spotlight on Aslan and the others who go to revive everyone who has been impacted by the Ice Queen, which I thought was a very lovely kind of intentional choice by the author. Instead of kind of fleshing out this battle scene that might seem like it's exciting, it's not really the point of the novel. Or not really point of the story. He takes the lens off of that and puts it a little bit more towards, I think, what he would like the reader to internalize. There's not a whole lot I want to get into this book just due to the fact that it's so short. It's a very quick read. Everybody could read it. All I'm going to say is that if you're trying to make a reader out of somebody young, this is an excellent book to start with. Again, this is the first installment of the series of the Chronicles of Narnia, and it only comes in at about 100 pages long. Super easy to read, super whimsical, fantastical, lovely time to spend. Maybe even if you are reading for a child of yours. I have a young daughter. She's a little bit too young for books like this just yet, but this is definitely going to be on her TBR pile when she gets old enough to juggle this kind of narrative. Lastly, guys, C.S. Lewis has a lovely, really enjoyable writing style. It really just flows, draws you into the story. The tone of the story matches the subject matter of the story perfectly. One of my all-time favorite writers is Neil Gaiman, and Neil Gaiman said that he was immensely influenced by this book. And the reason why is what C.S. Lewis does in his writing is he talks to the reader, and very often he does it in a parenthetical way. So he will have a little bit of exposition, he'll have a little bit of prose, and then in the brackets, he'll actually talk directly to the reader, not even addressing the characters in the book. He will talk directly to you, and you feel like you're being drawn through the text into the actual author's mind, and it's a fantastic little mechanism that he does, and something that Neil Gaiman clearly carries forward. I'm rereading Neverwhere right now, and he does it several times there. And I remember Gaiman saying something along the lines of like, I never knew that you could do that you could reach out and talk directly to your reader. And it makes it very conversational. It makes it very smooth, very easy to get to. And again, an enjoyable read because it gives you that extra little level of connection that you get with the creator of the content that I think is really appreciated from a lot of fans. So guys, a little bit of a shorter review this time, but again, a very short book. If you like the video, please hit the subscribe button, and as always, smash the like button if you enjoyed this review. If there are any books that you would like me to review, please let me know, and I will catch you guys on the next video.